Wow, thank you. I have to hug you. Thank you so much today. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Wow, this is on. This is on. Look at all these bright faces. I have to say thank you for everyone that participated in the creating of this out of nowhere in the blink of an eye. And it was inspired by July 15th. Anyone know what's happening July 15th? No one's laughing, so apparently you do know what's happening, right? Anyway, and there's a video that you're going to see in a little bit where the woman was described reality as unset jello. And so the reality is that July 15th is still unset jello. So because of the discomfort, we'll say it that way, that was happening among the real estate community, we said we can do something about this because fear, lack, negativity is a mindset. It's also a frequency that creates more of the same. So we can do something about that. So Jenny Gilbreth with Canyon Title and Candace Braden, Doug Braden, these are amazing superstars that I've done events a long time. So I'm sorry, I'm passionate and that sometimes turns into emotions. So here you have it, so brace yourself. But anyway, all the events that I've done, I have not experienced the gathering of a team that is absolute pure passion and love and joy in doing this. Not about what can we get, but what can we contribute. And it was so pure that everything happened so fast and everything happened so smooth. That's a frequency. So these are higher state frequencies. And it was effortless. And everything fell into place, kind of on a shoestring, a wing and a prayer, and all of that, and then came together to where we can offer this for you. Because in reality, on the collective side, collective consciousness, we're all fueling the quantum field with our attitude. This is what we're going to learn today, like get deeper in this subject, but we're all fueling it. And what are we fueling the quantum field frequency with? Because we're either contributing to raising the frequency on the planet, or we're contributing to maintaining it where it's at. I'm not a fan of where it's at because there's stuff happening where a lot of judgment, a lot of complaining, a lot of stuff that's happening, that's real unrest. And so we can do something about that, because if we can launch a majority, if you will, and I don't mean majority like 51%, I mean a majority, the power of one person in a high state of consciousness is more powerful than millions that aren't. So it's not a lot of people, but it's people that choose to be in higher states and watch the frequency on the planet change. Because the lower state frequencies can't exist in the higher state ones, so it just kind of goes somewhere else. Or it raises itself to match ours, like that. So anyway, that's what this is about. It was launched because of July 15th, and what's being discussed now that might change the real estate aspect of how to go about getting paid, apparently. So with that, we're going to talk about all kinds of things that are going to be empowering for people that are addressing that issue. Does that sound like a good day? So thank you again to everyone that's participated in all of this to make this for you. I'm just very grateful for not just that they've done it, but how they've done it with pure love and passion to contribute to all of you here today. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you, Candace. So since this is brand new, I do have a couple notes just because I want to refresh that so that I want to take you on a journey that you'll enjoy. Let me get my, here, okay. First of all, this subject of quantum is a frequency. And freedom, what's the opposite of freedom? Would be bondage. Who wants that? Because it's all a mindset. But part of why we don't understand that is we don't understand the power of our consciousness. So that's part of what's happening. We're going to clear that up today also. It'll be so cool. So the change that's taking place on the planet right now, bless you, is an evolution of consciousness that's happening global. So what's happening right here, right now, in our state, in our country, in our world, is happening all over the world. And whenever anything is happening all at the same time, with the world at the same time, the same dynamics, That means an evolution of humanity is at play now. Kind of like, remember Y2K? Remember the Y2K and all the freaking out and all of that? So the Y2K was experienced all over the world. It was an opportunity to raise consciousness for humanity collectively. Well, we're in the biggest one that's humanity has ever faced, ever in the history of the world, is what we're facing right now. It's a really big deal. So to understand what the significance of what's happening, it would be similar to like Tesla's era, right? Tesla was born when it's horse and buggy and candlelight for sight, and I don't know, warmth. Candles bring some warmth, right? You know, but candlelight and horse and buggy stuff. And so he's accessing technology that we're still, you know, unfolding and starting to utilize today. Can you imagine that? So it's the difference between, so that time period is difference between horse and buggy and then exploration into outer space in the blink of an eye. In a very short period of time, we went from that to outer space. What's happening now is a similar quantum leap journey, but this time, the journey and the exploration is internal. The journey is into our soul. And my favorite quote of Albert Einstein, here we go, emotional, is Albert Einstein said, "The spirit that moves the universe is the same spirit that moves our soul." And that's the journey, is to understand the significance of our soul. How magnificent it is, and what can we do with that to improve the quality of life for all humanity, which, by the way, was Nikola Tesla's sole focus for his entire life, starting at 6 years old. To improve, he called it harnessing nature, to improve the well-being and the quality of life for humanity. He didn't marry, he didn't date, he didn't do anything but this, because he was that focused that that's why he was alive. And I believe that that intention to serve humanity is so powerful, an intention, and the frequency of that is so extraordinary that that was how he was able to access these higher states in the quantum field and see the things that he was seeing. You know what, just for grins, you guys should look up Nikola Tesla and patents. I mean, these patents in a context, they had no context for horse and buggy and candlelight, none. Where did that come from? And how did he access it? Do you know? He accessed it from the intent. Intention is very powerful. Intention is a generator of power to produce. And intention with purposefulness is extremely powerful, meaning purposeful, helpful, uplifting, another. Isn't that cool? So the cool things that are happening now with regards to frequency, anybody hear of someone named Royal Raymond Rife? Called the Rife instrument. Anyone heard of this? Okay, this is where we're heading. And it's already starting to spread on the planet in a very big way. But he found the cure for cancer a very long time ago, and it was suppressed for some time. But here's what he figured out, because he was buddies with Tesla. He figured out everything is frequency. Everything is energy and vibration. Well, I wonder if cancer is a frequency. Lo and behold, it is. It has a frequency to it. So what the Rife instrument did is I knew somebody that actually had a treatment with it. And it was, at that time, it was where you put your feet on pedals and vibration, like sound frequencies, started to go through your body. Well, the frequencies that were being sent from this equipment bombarded the slower, denser frequency called the cancer cell. And because the vibration was so high, the cancer cells just dissolved. End of story. And there's a lot of technology coming out about that right now. There's something else called the energy enhancement system. Anyone hear of that? Scholar, have you heard of this?
I think so. That's where you sit in a room and there's
And the screens? So it's a Tesla technology. It was harnessed by Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. And she's now, I mean, inside of just a little over a year, there's over 650 of these locations in America, spreading all over the world. And there's a certain frequency. It's all Tesla technology that's being emitted from screens. You sit in a room and you feel these vibes, and you raise your consciousness. And something's happening with regards to that organization. I'm very close to meeting her. She now has one of my books, the quantum physics book, quantum living book. And because there might be there's looking like there's a harmony between that energy enhancement system locations that raise the frequency while you're there. What quantum living is about is how do you maintain it? So the harmony between the two is starting to really take shape. And so that's on its way. The next quantum tour will be in Texas, for example, which is where she has the largest of its centers in America at this time. So there's a lot going on that has to do with frequency. So it's really important to start understanding certain fundamental things. Fundamental things are attitude is frequency. How we feel is frequency. What we're speaking is frequency. What we believe is true is frequency. Do you know? I mean, I remember being 7, my dad saying, there's no such thing as a perfect rhyme. I went, Dad, excuse me, I know I'm only 8, but there's been like 6, you know, that apparently were perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just, you know, being sarcastic about it, but we actually had that chat when I was 8. And, but my parents had these belief systems that were they were Depression era teenagers, you know, and so they had a lot of belief systems that were true, and they built their life based on those that didn't apply anymore. So this is one of those times where it's time to really take a look at what are we looking at. It's time to understand the power of our consciousness, because I can promise you the frontier that we're about to explore, which is our soul. We will blow ourselves away. By December, we'll look in the mirror and not recognize ourselves, because of the frequency that we'll be very aware that we keep alive and keep active and operate from. The other part is the piece about intuition. Is a very big deal, which is why we have all this about intuition is the new genius. Anyone would like to share an intuitive hit they got about something and what happened next? Anyone like to, do you have one on the top of your head? You probably have so many, right? No, it's true, because we do have them. The key is to, when you get them, listen to them. I'll give you just a dramatic example that happened in Phoenix when I was living there originally before coming to Colorado. And so I was doing an event there, and I had somebody in my car, and we were driving down the street, and I got this overwhelming hit. It was a larger street too, to go into that office building right there, it was like a kind of strip center a bit with the office in it, to go right there. So I had a guest in my car, and I made this immediate U-turn. And like she was centrifugal force, you know, pinned against the door. You know what I mean? She went, "What are you doing? Are you okay?" I said, I will know as soon as I go in there. I don't know what that meant. I had no idea. So I walk in, and right at the front door is this woman who's it was a title company, and she was one of the sales reps. So I just said I felt completely compelled to come in here, and I don't know why, but anyway, and she looked at the flyer that I had, and she went, "Oh my gosh, I so need this." Well, that individual has turned into the most influential, significant person of my lifetime. She is responsible for making sure this book got published. She supported it in all kinds of ways, including when I moved from Colorado back to Phoenix again. She said, "You just come and stay with me and my husband, don't worry about a thing." And I knew their daughters when they were 6 and 8. They're now in their 20s. And I had all the peace in the world without worrying about anything to be able to go full time with the writing of this book. And it was almost 2 years. And so it's because of them. So I'm able to share with her, look at how much you've influenced my life and how profoundly you've influenced me, because I made a U-turn at a stoplight without knowing why. So the cool thing I've now learned about intuition, which is why it's the new genius, is the biggest deal of all, is that intuition will be genius, meaning flawless for each individual, meaning perfect for the moment you're in, and that moment, if you listen to it, is also connected to your future. whether you have any idea about it. So it becomes very important when you get intuitive hits to listen, and we'll go deeper on that. So that's basically what we're going to do. Are you okay with that? And so some of the topics that might be brought up or shared might not be a match for you. So to please know, this is a free will universe. And what we're about to talk about is available to you if you invite it in. But that doesn't mean it's for everybody, and I never will say it will be. However, if you choose to invite it in, what you're about to hear, at least consider it. I think it would be a life changer before the day is out. And we're going to go through 6 fundamental keys on what's going on. Okay? Ready to rock? Anyone want to make comment or question? Anything?
Just happy you're here.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So, I didn't have a word for it, but I just kept calling it all this serendipitous stuff just led
Yes.
me to the next like
Yes.
it just was
Yes.
living
Yes.
life that way.
Yes.
And it just kept, and following it, and it just seemed miraculous, like these serendipitous things just kept
Right.
falling into place. So,
Yes. Okay. So hello. That's exactly why we're here, is to learn how to do what you just said you do already. You see, because moving at that flow is being in harmony with that flow that exists.
and it opened up the next one.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
And it's effortless.
yeah,
Bingo.
Exactly.
yeah.
Effortless.
Effortless. It doesn't mean no effort. It means effortless by a big shot.
It's natural.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you ever had anyone here have those days where you get all the green lights? Do we get those green lights because they're really, really smart? No. We get those green lights because we're in harmony. Now, so if you look at the universe in the biggest possible picture, okay, so we always say God, the universe, and everything, right? That's an expression I've used a long time. So if you look at God's universe, we also think in terms of perfection. So what does we're going to even, I've got some evidence on this too, it's so cool. But what you're talking about is a universe created in pure love and benevolence. Okay, and, you know what I mean? So flowing with that harmony that's already there is what we're talking about, how to do that today, that you'll be able to leave with. And we're going to do our best to have this be available by 11:30, in that neighborhood. So, but please feel free to speak, to ask questions, make comments, because this is for you, 100%, okay? Okay, cool, let's go. I have to make sure this isn't on because the cell phone thing, and then when mine goes off, I'm very humiliated. Excuse me just a moment, make sure the sound is gone. Okay. Okay, so Albert Einstein. I love this guy. I mean, he's turned into quite a philosopher as a scientist. I mean, the stuff that he talks about, the universe is extraordinary. And this is a really important one that has to do with the motivation of creating this event at all, was July 15. Okay, so here we go. The only constant in the universe is change. He didn't say it's one of several. He said it's the only constant in the universe is change. So something is changing, maybe or maybe not, on July 15th. There's all kinds of things that change suddenly that we have no notice for. So what do we do? What happens? How do we feel when change happens? We resist it. That's not fair. That's not right. I just got used to this. Why that now? And so I would submit to you that if the only constant in the universe is change, then maybe it's a really good idea to embrace it and actually ask the question, I wonder what benefit is in this change for me. That's a frequency, that attitude of curiosity, like, wow, I wonder what is going to happen because of this change. Will I grow? Will I learn? Will more come in? How cool is that? So that's a belief system. Change is cool. Change is fun. Change, it keeps me young. I can say that now at my age now. Change keeps me young. Reinvent. I was just did an interview with a journalist in, I did an interview, it sounds really weird to me. I was invited by her name is Carrie Pena, to be interviewed because she had seen somebody reading the book, and she dug the cover. So she was saying, wow, I mean, what is that you're reading? And she got very interested, and then an interview, it just got posted last Wednesday, and it's called The Next Chapter, is what that interview was, Carrie Pena. It's on the internet, on YouTube and all of that. But anyway, I said to her, it's so cool that your show is called The Next Chapter. Do you have any idea how many people are in the next chapter now? And I said to her, I've been a corporate person and worked with groups and all kinds of things for a really, really long time and did really well. And now I just have me. So I'm trying to figure out what does that mean? Because I'm in the next chapter, reinventing myself, which is really interesting. And the universe, to speak to your comment about synergy, a realtor referred me to this place to lease. I'm leasing this condo. And she just said, I don't know why I thought of you about this. It's a lovely condo in Litchfield Park, and the name of it is Renaissance. I went, stop it. Renaissance means rebirth. Stop it. That's such a God thing, right? Like, I'm just guided, and I just went, that's just so perfect, I'm in. I don't even have to see, what I mean? So anyway, so the only constant in the universe is change, okay? Now, there's somebody, have you guys heard of Buckminster Fuller? Anyone heard of him? He's an architect. He created the geodesic dome as an architect, designed that. And then he's a visionary architect, he's a teacher, philosopher, and so forth. He's also the one that built the Superdome in Houston. Not built it, but he was the architect for it. It's a geodesic dome. Okay, here's what he said about change. A lot of people are quoting this now because so much is changing so fast in the world. So what they're saying is, what he said, you can never change things by fighting against the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. That's all we have to do. We don't have to fight or demand that people follow us and do what we say and all of that stuff that's going on. You don't do it my way and all. This kind of stuff is also going to not exist in the higher state frequency at all. Anyway, there's no judgment in the fifth dimensional frequency, 0. Do you know how I know that? Would you like to know how do I know that? I know that I have experience with that. I was doing an event with my buddy Jenny, and in Denver, and as we did a lot of things together, classes and stuff. And I'm in a very high state, from prayer, meditation, and intention to be of highest possible value. And so kind of can't help. I'm just in this lovely state. And then the door opens and somebody walked in filled with rage and hate, bitterness and anger. And I turned from where I was looking to the left to the right. And in one, I can't even say nanosecond because that's a measurement of time. I'm talking instant, the moment I judged her. I was in judgment. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing in here? Like, with that frequency, I judged. In the blink of an eye, I can't even say how fast it was, instant, I'm out of the field. That's how I know for sure there's no judgment. And you know what's so cool about that? I wasn't thrown out of it because I was judging or being bad. There was no judgment in it, just saying, oh, sorry, you're not the same frequency. Bye now. It's like that. Do you know what I mean? And so Jenny, she's so sweet. I love this story. Jenny, she's already laughing. So all the people laughed, and she said, what happened to you? You came in the event and you were you, but then after about 20 minutes, you weren't you anymore. What happened? Now you would think I would apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry, I don't, blah, 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 blah. I did not do that. I went, I'm so happy I have a witness. I have a witness to what happens when you're in a high state and the moment you judge, gone. Blink of an eye. It's like turning a radio to another, wait, what happened to my favorite song? And the reality was, because this person that was in there continued to do annoying things, that I was judging, I couldn't get back in the high state. So I went, okay, so I'm also learning, like, okay, now should that happen again? How do I, you see, I'm telling you, this frequency thing is a big deal. It's such a big deal, and I'm totally digging it. And on top of it, just kind of the other kind of undercurrent or over umbrella part is I've been a business person my whole life, and I was an athlete before that, competitive. I got a gold medal in high jump in the Junior Olympics, and was in the Western Nationals for the Olympics and in high jump and 50-meter low hurdles, and been a competitor to be the best I can be. So in business, I totally love being in business. I totally love the idea of the collective and the group and interaction with people and how much I've learned and grown and changed, and the quality of my life is because of all the people that I've interacted with, so I totally love it. But I also want to be successful doing it. And so in starting out, in the era I did as a commercial banker and generating new business for a bank and all that, I'm talking to presidents about move your money this way. And then at that time, boy bodies didn't talk to girl bodies about money. So that had some challenges. You know, the first meeting I went was Tiffany Development. It was the builder developer, Paul Matloff. And I said, I'm here with Imperial Bank, and we do interim financing for builder developers, and would be interested in exploring with you what it might look like to build opportunity together. He went, bring me a guy. But I went, oh my God, you're in luck. We have so many of them. Because there weren't very many women in the bank doing what I was doing. So anyway, but the idea of for me to be able to win in a climate like that, the women were even really mad at me. Who do you think you are taking out attorneys to, you have an expense account and you go to lunch and, so it was like everybody say, get off the planet, sort of like that. So how would I win under those circumstances? I needed to figure out real fast, what are the dynamics of being productive? Because in a sales function, in any organization you're working for, you produce results or you don't work there anymore. So because I was so, it was so volatile, they were so upset that I was talking to men about money, and you just didn't do that at that time. And so, and by the way, in men's defense, believe me, I was not part of that movement at that time at all. I used to say, if you want results, I'm your guy. I used to say those very words. Because I'm not about, you have to hire me because I'm a woman. I just thought that's not fair. I don't want I have to hire because they're walking around in some body. I want to see who's capable, to serve my client, right? So anyway, but at that time, men referred to the business world as it's a jungle out there. And it's a rat race. You don't send a woman in a jungle. It was a protective thing that they were doing. It wasn't a bad thing. You don't put a woman in a jungle, stop it. Put a woman by herself in a rat race, who does that? I understood what they were doing, but still, I thought, but I'm okay with that. I had 3 brothers, and they pushed me out of trees, so I can handle being, being thrown out of an office. That's no biggie, for me, right? So anyway, so what I realized and figured out about being productive is all about attitude and understanding the big picture. And here's the big picture. Your client establishes the quality of your life. That deserves a thank you. And when you look at it like that, your whole behavior, they don't represent, I need 3 deals, what can I get them from him? You're not going to get them. Because we're also getting better at our intuition. So people can now tell better than ever before that the reason I'm smiling and being so nice to you and stuff like that is that maybe you'll give me 3 deals because I need the money before the month is out. If you don't think the client can read that, think again. Because what they're thinking, or their subconscious is going, something's funny about this. I'm not responsible for your money. I wanted to be here for your service. And when people are getting better and better at doing that, then we need to get better and better about being genuinely clear on what we're doing, who we're doing it with, and why we're doing it. And ultimately, our power source is in serving humanity. So the cool part about that experience at the bank in the early days was that I didn't know anything about anything. I'd been a receptionist and I was a telephone operator as a teenager and all of that. I didn't have the credentials either for that. But what I was fascinated by since I'm a little kid is people. Most of my books, almost all of them, were autobiographies. I wanted people talking about themselves, and I was like 6, wanting to find out stories about people and what they've been through and how they rose above and beyond all the obstacles and all of that. I just was fascinated by that. Like, how is it possible this one little characteristic, like, defeated all of the opposition? Well, that one little characteristic is sincerity, authenticity, desire to serve and be of value to somebody. That one little thing, I'll tell you a great real estate story. I did classes in Colorado for people just out of school, because the training in real estate with people just out of school is calling 100 and you'll get 3 or something. The new person's not going to call 100 because they don't have nothing to say, right? So what am I going to say? I don't know anything, right? So that's not a good plan. So I thought, okay, well, let's just put the human interest piece in this, in the mix of these new people. And I would find out whatever segment of humanity they interacted with in the past. I don't care what it is. They'd be like, mom is a nurse. Okay, you speak nurse. Guess what nurses do? They serve people beyond belief and don't take care of themselves. They're 60, still living in an apartment. And he went, oh, that's what my mom did, just like that. I went, okay, so now you go talk to nurses and go, my mom was a nurse. And I noticed that she did that. And so I just now, and I know what you guys all go through because I watched what my mom go through the whole time I grew up. So I decided that I'm going to spend my business and my focus on helping nurses find property. I'll do it on your behalf. How's that? Because no one took care of my mom like that, so I'm here taking care of you like that. I can promise you what I learned absolutely hands down. People want to know that you understand them over needing them. The best one of all was in this one training class I was doing, there was a young woman there, her name was Meryl Abeda. Young Hispanic girl, and she she came in the room kind of more like, she looked like wearing you know that suit, that workout suit that Rocky wore? You know the movie Rocky, the gray, kind of big baggy gray and like that. So that was what she came in for the class. And I was thinking, I wonder why she picked real estate. So I used to ask all that opened every class, what did you do before? Why did you choose real estate? Why this company? And I learned a lot about the person. So here's what she said. And then, so I learned from that. I was kind of a little bit in judgment about the lack of professional look. Okay, well, bad me. That girl turned into a superstar beyond my wildest imagination. Because when I said, what did you do before? She said, oh, I lived with my parents, and then I got married, and then my husband and I have 2 children, and then we live in an apartment. And she said, and then my husband, he found a way to buy us a home. And then she was kind of matter of fact, but at the same time, her appreciation was beyond language. She said, I just can't tell you what it's like to own your own home. She said, I wake up in the morning and we have a sliding door in our master bedroom, and I look out and I see the flowers that I planted. Those are my flowers. First time in her life. And she said, so I can do nothing else. I have to help people get out of apartments, because if they had any idea how great it felt. Like that. So this is the best story ever. So anyway, so the next week when we did the next class, and then I was ashamed of me forever. I never did that again, how someone's dressed. I don't care. Come in a bathrobe, you know what I mean? Because it did not matter. Because with that attitude, you was done. So anyway, so we came back the next week, and I used to ask realtors, did you play secret agent? That means you didn't tell anyone you were an agent this week. Okay, who played secret agent? Confess, So anyway, so I got to Meryl, and she went, oh, it wouldn't be fair to count me. Why wouldn't that be fair? She went, oh, because I went into apartment buildings and knocked on doors Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I think I maybe 200 or something. I went, I'm sorry, what? You knocked on doors? I went, what did you say? She said, I just told them the truth. And I went, and what is that? She said, well, I'm Meryl Abeda. I work at Cherry Creek Realtors. And my husband found us a home. It's the greatest feeling I've ever had in my lifetime, because I always live in apartments. And so I just made it my life's work, starting now, to help anybody like you in an apartment get out of that apartment and get a home immediately. That's why I'm here. Want to get out of that apartment? And I said, did anyone ask you any questions? This is the best part of all. Best part. She went, oh yeah, they asked me stuff like, well, how do you get a home? I went, okay, what did you say? She went, I have no idea. I'm telling you, absolutely true story. I have no idea, but here's what I know. I know it's the greatest feeling ever to own your own home, and I'm here to help you get out of it. Well, what's involved in getting money to do that? She went, I don't know that either. But you know what? We could learn together. That's what she did. Now, here's the other part. 4 months go by, and I'm meeting with the owners of that real estate company, and I'm walking down and they had offices shared for 25 people. They had probably almost 300 people in their organization. You had to earn that. And I'm walking down the hall to meet one of the owners, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this oval on the door, and I stopped and looked, and it's her name. 4.5 months later, her name was on that door. That's her office now. I started to cry, because she's the living embodiment of what we're talking about. Restore the humanity in how you approach your business, can't lose. So that's where you be with people because you feel like it. Not just anybody, do you know? Just because there's a deal, but someone that you really prefer. I chose people as a banker. I just want to learn something about money, so I think I'm going to now call on CPAs. I just chose based on what do I want to grow with and learn from or contribute to, like that, okay? Make sense? Dynamics of change. So key number 1, so we got 6 keys to go, but this is the most important of all the keys. It's fundamental to the rest of it that you're about to hear. To understand the power of our consciousness is urgent. I'll even say it that way. This is very important. So what's consciousness? Consciousness is awareness. So for example, I'm looking at you and I'm now aware that you're here. Therefore, I'm now conscious of you. It's not complicated, but it's very profound. And also, this is the part people have trouble believing because they don't understand the power of consciousness, that what we put our attention on gets bigger. And there's science, a lot of science on this stuff too, by the way. And consciousness is a frequency. We've got to take this aboard. Because, what are we looking at is one of the questions I'd be asking. Are we watching slasher movies? You know what I mean? Like, what are we putting our attention on? There was a woman, a friend of mine in Arizona. I've hooked up with her again, and she's fantastic. Also a broker, managing broker. And so when the market turned down in 2008, she lost everything, millions. Lost her company. She was just barely hanging on to her home. And older lady. And so she called me and she said, I know you talk about law of attraction and all that stuff, but I keep getting these calls from bill collectors saying, you owe me this money. When are you going to pay this money? And she said, I keep saying, can't tell you how many times a day, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. I don't have any money. And I said, so she said, so what do I do? Because I understand law of attraction. What do I do? I went, well, if I were in your shoes, and have been, here's what I would say, and have. Is this Daryl Dennis? You're delinquent on such and such. Here's exactly what I would say and have. Oh my God, it's you. I'm so happy you called. The future is so bright I can barely breathe. I'm telling you, it's on its way. It's not here today, but it's coming so fast. And I'll make you a deal that I'll tell you what, this is my deal. The moment it comes in, I'll call you first. How's that? She said she did that, and the guy went, okay. and hung up. It's all a mindset. And then things did turn around for her in all kinds of ways. She even met she's like 70 something and met some cool man and they're madly in love and there it is. I mean, her whole life has turned into something way cool, okay? So how many people have seen What the Bleep Do We Know? It's a documentary of a woman named, she's one of the women, but Lynn McTaggart. And she interviewed a lot of quantum physicists all over the world and said, what's going on about what's the human being? What's this thing with the human beings? Like, what are we affecting something outside? I just want to know about it. So anyway, this is a very brief, it's not her, because I have another video with her, but it's a very brief on consciousness. Okay, so check it out.
You now can see in numerous labs around the United States objects that are large enough to be seen by the naked eye, and they are in two places simultaneously.
I wake up in the morning and
How's that? So what we opened with is the concept of collective consciousness. We just touched on that. What he described about the studies he's done, which is 48 previous ones to the one he did in Washington, D.C., is that they raised the frequency of the town. That's what they did. And that day, actually I think it was a summer. It was like a period of time. And so what happened is that crime went down by 25%. So that means people don't know what causes something. They just know they kind of don't feel like robbing today. I don't want to go hurt somebody and steal, I just don't feel like it. I'm not up to it today, is what happens. And I can promise you, that's just a micro of the macro that's possible. There doesn't need to be one bullet fired starting this moment if we can make a decision to stay in high state frequencies, which is stop judging and complaining, basically. We're going to dive deeper into that too. It's one of the keys. But isn't that cool? Because the two frequencies can't exist in the same space. So the ones that want to cause harm to others are in a negative, judgmental, frequency. It's low state, it's thick, it's slow, it's dense. And this will be dissolved in a way by our own higher state consciousness frequency. So if you look at consciousness as a frequency, and it's also creating stuff. The studies are done that the observation, looking at a molecule, can change the structure of the molecule that matches the intent. That's Dr. Emoto's work. Have you heard of Masaru Emoto? Have you heard of him? So, and he's done studies, thousands and thousands of photographs. Like a molecule is like a flat, six-sided, object. And so, so anyway, what he ended up doing is doing these studies where he would take a molecule, isolate it, put it in a petri dish, and launch a particular attitude. And so lots of different attitudes, like hate, love, There's a cool one, oh, check this out for business people. There's a cool one he did, there were two of them he did that's in his book, Hidden Messages from Water. It's a wonderful book, a lot of these pictures of these outcomes of these studies, Dr. Emoto, E-M-O-T-O. But anyway, one of the molecules, so picture yourself in a corporate setting with people that you're responsible for. He looked at the one molecule and it went, do it. The next molecule, let's do it. The do it imploded. It went backwards. It disassembled, in essence. The let's do it expanded. Just that. And when you think again about that we're I've heard 75% and 90% water, imagine what our thinking is doing to our own bodies. That the water is receiving from our frequency launched from attitude. And then how does energy interact with itself? A likeness attracts manner. And then we wonder, how did I get that client? I'll give you a class. This is also here in Colorado in Littleton. So I was doing it's like a 5-week business plan design class. They're very good. And like, how do you use these principles to build your business, including who? And I would also do one-on-one coachings with the people there as part of that. And so this one young woman was December, and she was like, I don't get it. This lovely woman. And she said, I don't get it. I'm getting all these clients that are like, I don't know what. They're so annoying and this and that. And, you know, and they're just kind of mean. And I don't get what's happening that I'm suddenly attracting that. I asked her one question. Are you considering getting out of real estate? What? How dare you? She said. How dare you? She was thinking about getting out of real estate. She went, I can't believe you said that, because I actually been thinking about it, because this doesn't feel good to me. I went, oh, okay. Well, here's what's happening. You're not willing to make a decision for yourself to just do it for your reasons, so you're attracting people that will force you out, and that's what's happening. So now's a good time to decide if you want to stay in real estate or not. And she decided, like when she really pondered it, she went, no, I actually really love this. Then by January 14th, she called me. I'm sitting in a parking lot. She was raving. I have 3 clients. They're all $1 million plus. But I love them. They're so great. Blah, blah, blah. That's it. Overnight. That's how powerful we are, and that's what we need. It's now time to get that about us. Okay. So, Secrets of the Universe. This is Albert Einstein, of course. Love him. Okay, so he said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. Okay, and here's a Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, where the book, before the book was even considered, I was staying with my friends and just kind of meditating and pondering and reading school stuff. And for whatever the reason, you know, I was looking at Einstein stuff and Tesla stuff. These 2 quotes for the first time stuck out. Like, I went, wait a second. What does everything mean? What does everything is energy mean exactly? So I'm pondering, what does that mean? And I don't know, a week or a week and a half goes by, and I went, well, wait a second. If everything's energy, then genius is a frequency. It's not an intelligence quotient, mind capacity, brain capacity thing. It's a frequency. You don't have to be a genius to be in love. You don't have to be a genius to be creative. So why would you have to have a brain that's able to handle genius? And then I went, that's when I said to my friend Debbie, I'm so sorry, I might have brain matter all over your walls now, and someone's going to have to come clean that up because my head exploded. And so, because that means every common, regular human being on planet Earth has a capacity to genius because it's a frequency. And then we'll talk more about that. But that's where the books, and then I started looking some things up and realized that the issue is now quantum. It's a big deal, and it's certainly for the rest of our life and probably for all the time. Quantum will be like a new normal for us. And quantum is a speed. It's a frequency, instant, okay? So what does everything mean? So I wanted to know what that means exactly, and then realized then genius is a frequency. So then what does that mean? Then kind of down the rabbit hole a bit is like, you know, what we think is an energy, well, how we feel is an energy, our belief systems are energy. Do you know? And here's the other part, by the way, of frequencies and the power of them. This is HeartMath Institute studies. If anyone wants to ever look up HeartMath about anything, it's heartmath.org. And they've been studying probably 35 years that I'm aware of the human being, the frequencies that are emitted from the human being, where does it come from, where does it originate, what can it do? And so what they discovered is that of all the frequencies that we emit, from our thinking, from our attitude, from our beliefs and all of that, the most powerful frequency that is coming from us, that's 5,000 times stronger, 5,000 times stronger than any other signal we're emitting, and that's what comes from the heart. That's the power source. They're actually referring to it now as the bigger brain, is what HeartMath is talking, their bigger brain. It's a big deal. The heart's a big deal. So in terms of business scenarios, so people will set goals, and I have this goal, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, and then you get in the car when no one's looking, that'll probably never happen to me. So that's a belief system that's connected to an emotional component that's now launching a signal into the quantum field 5,000 times stronger than anything else we're emitting. And what does that signal do that we emit? It's looking for a match to bring it back to you, because apparently that's what you want. So how we believe and how we feel is now about to influence 5,000 times stronger than anything else we can emit. So it's very important to start really getting a grasp on what signal am I setting out, because whatever that is, it's going to come back, because that's all energy can do, is find a likeness attracts. That's it. It goes out seeking a match and then comes back in. Okay. So key number 2, intention. This is a very big deal. Intention, this is a dictionary definition, by the way, one of them. Intention harnesses thought that translates into outcomes. By the way, in the journey of looking at quantum and all of that, I get during a meditation time, do you guys ever during meditation like get information? Do you ever get like an idea or something that's so clear or loud or anything like that? You've had that? And so what came in that moment is, quote unquote, look up quantum realm. Okay, I actually, my friend Debbie goes, are you talking to yourself in your room? Are you okay? Because I went, excuse me, are you still there? What do you mean? Gone, got it. So I look up quantum realm. I knew realm meant dimension or space or something. And so anyway, I look it up. First thing I see, there's a book called The Quantum Realm, Mark Montgomery. And so I look up so I ordered it from Amazon. It came the next day. And I've interacted with him, by the way. I said, your book made my brain explode. There was brain matter all over my friend's walls, and thanks for that. Anyway, he said, we've got to get together because I got to find out what happened to cause that, Sounds like a great guy. But anyway, I learned his definition, and for people that have known me in business and my training, my business plan designing, like everything is about value exchange dynamics, which is choose who you wish to work with and what would be a value above and beyond the income stream, and then who else is connected, and you create a team to serve people in ways that you can't, but they can, for different reasons too, on top of it. So it's a really cool business plan. And value exchange dynamics is basically very small effort. You intend value, and enormous things happen. I have a title one I can share with you. This is Rob Lindley, by the way, the chairman of the board of Canyon Title, who drove all the way from...
It was effortless.
Bless you, sir. So anyway, so I had been teaching, not teaching, I wouldn't say that, I was applying value exchange dynamics in my business as a banker. And so I was working as an independent on top of that. And so independent means I had several banks to put money in, and they paid me and this and that, and I took care of my clients, and it was a lot of fun. And then there was so much title business in these banks that I created a separate relationship also with a title company there that was kind of newer in Los Angeles, and it's 1989. And a friend of mine, PhD from Yale, was the senior counsel of the third largest bank in the world at that time, Mitsubishi Bank, downtown LA. And so he said, we've been talking about this value exchange dynamic thing for like 9 years, and I just really want to know, I want to see it in action. Could you show me in action what it looks like? And I said, sure, do you want to create a new relationship, or what do you want to use it for? I was happy to show you. He went, well, no, I have a client, it's the bank, but you also have that title piece. So what I'm going to do, if you're okay with this, is I'll introduce you to the chairman of the board, and with the idea that you're approaching him to get title business. He went, oh, by the way, The chairman of the board was the former international CEO for Bank of America for 30 years. He talks to Congress. I went, oh, okay, good tip, you know. So anyway, this is exactly what happened, and this is quantum. This is how quantum works. Oh, by the way, so what Mark Montgomery said is that quantum, the definition of quantum is the ratio between the amount of energy spent to the magnitude of the result. And I went, stop it, that's the exact definition of value exchange dynamics, other than the word ratio. Exactly. So now I'm really tripping on all of this. So in that situation, it's a classic example of what quantum looks like, and this can be in your business life, personal life, right now, because this is happening all. I got thousands of these stories. I have clients that have these stories. Nothing forever, and we meet one time, and bam, their whole life just changed in a big way, like unbelievable results come in. So anyway, so we meet at this restaurant, and the what do you call it, maitre d' sat us at this table, and Mr. Boat was sitting there. I'm sitting here. Dan is sitting there, and Mr. Boat said, "Tell me about yourself." And we're waiting for the waiter to come. By the way, Mitsubishi had 200 branches. Title insurance was massive: commercial, residential, refinancing, all kinds of stuff. There was so much business in there, it was like laughable. And so anyway, he said, now, by the way, I clocked what I said as 31 seconds. So he said, tell me about yourself. I said, I'm Daryl Dennis. I'm a financial consultant, and my business plan is to be of highest value to anyone I invite into my clientele base and use every resource to do so. At this moment in my career, my resources are vast, and rather than bore you to tears and make a big list from A to Z, may I ask you one question, Mr. Chairman of the Board? If I were to be of value to you, what would that look like? And then he went, whoa, that is a great question. That is, and he kept saying, that's a great question. That is because now he's tripping. He's tripping, right? That's my friend Dave. I'm teasing with him because he picked on me for saying, dig it, the other day.
Daryl, we're all tripping.
Oh, bless you again. So anyway, how I introduced was 31 seconds because I was curious to see how fast all this happened. So then he said, that's really a great question. And then he goes on to say, the board of directors wants me to go to small banks, knock on doors. Now, by the way, is he telling me this? You've got to be kidding me. He's a statesman. He is like the perfect CEO guy of a bank that's a statesman. I mean, that would be his picture in that encyclopedia. He would look that dignified. And they're asking him to be a salesman at 63 years old out of nowhere, teeny-weeny little banks, you know. And so he said, so they want me to go knock on doors. He said that language too, and buy their loan portfolios at a discount rate. And so I said, okay, and? Because see, in my world, that's a phone call. Hey, want to be more liquid? Cool, when can we meet? I mean, it would be so simple. Not to him, you see? So now probably 4 minutes have gone by, maybe 3, I'm not sure. This is so fast. And I said to him, Mr. Boat, may I ask the question slightly differently? If I were to contact those small banks for you and create those meetings for you to have that conversation, would that be of value to you? He went like this. That would be of such value to me today that I'll use your title company, and I'll do a memo today that we use your title company system-wide. What's it called again? Word for word. That was 6 minutes. So then, of course, then the waiter came. That waiter hadn't even come yet. And then we celebrated like a new alliance. Now here's the other part that was like blew my mind on that. So of course I'm going to fulfill that. So I went to small banks. Hi, I'm Daryl Dennis. I'm a financial consultant. My business plan is to be of highest value to anyone I invite into my clientele base and use every resource to do so. I was meeting with Mr. Bill Boat on Thursday, and he told me to be of highest value to him would be if he could meet you. Would you be open to meeting him? What? You do what? Wait, what did you say? And I would repeat it. You're here for that? Some would say like, Mr. Bowden, you were talking about me? Because they're kind of small little banks. He's a giant, you know. Anyway, and they went, would you do that for everyone? I went, well, as a matter of fact, I do, because that's my business plan. Would you do that for us? Guess what they had? A whole bunch of title insurance in these small banks. I'm like, I didn't count on getting anything. That was actually for him. So then Dan Lucid, my PhD friend from Yale, he went, that was the most astounding thing I've ever seen in my entire career. He was in his 50s. And he said, what you're talking about doing is revolutionizing American productivity as it's known today. This is astounding. And I actually went, well, I was just wanting to pay my rent. You know what I mean? I just like live, you know what I mean? And all that. And I have to admit, when Mr. Boat was tripping, I actually did sit there and go, oh my God, the man that speaks in front of Congress likes my question. You know what I mean? Like that was so humbling in a way. You know, it was really cool. But that's quantum. Look, what was the energy I spent? Very little. I showed up. I didn't even pay, they paid for lunch too. I didn't pay for the lunch. I spent some time, but I intended to be of value and meant it. When you intend to be of value and mean it, I'm telling you, that's what drives quantum. That's what I learned from Mark Montgomery. That's why we brought it up, is that he described the nucleus, energy, permeating the center of all quantum is intention.
Well, and the chairman of the board, sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
showed up with an intention to solve this problem. You arrived with a pure intention to
Yes.
be of value.
Yes.
That was not a coincidence.
That was not that's exactly right. But oh no, so I'm so glad you brought this up too, Rob, because here's another part I learned about this is the coolest subject, is that we're wired to make a difference. We're hardwired. You know how you can tell a couple of ways that we're wired at birth to make a difference, and that's who we be, make a difference, is that look, when anything comes up that people kind of need our help, or there's some tragedy, or there's something everybody kind of pitches in, and you don't think a thing of it, that's not suffering. That's, I can't wait to do it, I'll wait as long. When the Columbine thing happened here, people were waiting, I was one of them, in line for 6, 7, 8 hours to give blood and not one complaint. I'll wait till midnight, I don't care. We've got to do this. And it was like a privilege to serve. That's in our wiring. You know how you can also tell the little kids at Thanksgiving and Christmas? They're like 4. Let me help, let me help. And they're in the kitchen where there's a lot of like hot stuff and fire and stuff, right? So you kind of don't want them there. But they're like, let me help, let me help, let me help. And if you don't let them help, they'll start screaming and crying. It's like you don't need them. They can't bear it. Because they're so connected to how we be as to contribute and make a difference. So this is very big deal stuff. And so then the intention is the nucleus of quantum, and the highest intention is value. I'm just saying, this is so cool. We get this. Everything will be like you described, like synergy. Synchronicity is, I think is what you, synchronicity?
Serendipity.
Serendipity, great word. Okay, so intention is a generator of power that produces an outcome also. Intentions are frequencies of purposefulness, which is why they're powerful. Purposefulness. This is Lynn McTaggart. This is just very brief. She's the journalist in What the Bleep Do We Know that interviewed all the physicists. So this is really cool. The book below is called The Intention Experiment. She's written other things. Lynn McTaggart, she's amazing. Okay. Dr. Radin is a top scientist at an organization called Noetic Science. Noetic Sciences was created by Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14. And he was describing when he was coming back to Earth. I actually did a couple of events for Noetic Sciences, which was a wonderful experience. He's in Tucson, Arizona. He's passed now. Anyway, and he said the very words to me informally, but he said that as a scientist, I was experiencing a state of bliss. I didn't even know what that was. I'd never had that before. And he said, and all I could feel in the universe was benevolent intelligence with vast knowing. Noetic is the Greek word for knowing. So when he came back, He said to the science community, this knowing is so real, science simply has to get involved in finding out what is this knowing. So this is very cool stuff. So Dean Radin was describing intuition as knowing without knowing how you know. Perfect explanation is that, okay? So the key number 3 is intuition. The new genius. Again, intuition, well, here's what it is, okay? It's a sixth sense. Intuition is foresight. You get a hit to not go. You know, the 9/11 situation? There were people that got a sixth sense. Their building wasn't even on fire, but they got a sense to get out of the building, even though there was no danger. That's a foresight, because they sensed something's wrong, or so whatever. There were also people that got the hit to get out of the building before there was anything going on in their building. And then the security guard said, get back in the elevator, everything's fine, we're good. And a lot of the people felt shamed to say, no, I still want to get out. So they went back up. And then the plane hit within 30 seconds after they went back up to their office. That's actually what happened, or blew up, or whatever's happening there. Okay, so it's also inner knowing. It's a hunch. This is my favorite, because guys call it the gut feeling. And that's really cool when the guys call it gut feeling, because that's where the area is that you're sensing something. So it's a perfect way to describe that. And this is a dictionary definition that intuition is without rational thought. Rational thought is the way you evaluate. Well, let me see what happened. Last time this kind of similar thing happened. These circumstances showed up, and here's what I would think I should do this, but I could also try that. That's a whole process that has no value, zero, in the quantum era that we're beginning now. Because what that means is pretty much everything that's happening is brand new. There's no reference point for what's happening right now. There just isn't. All circumstances are brand new. So you need a decision for this moment that's perfect for you. That's the cool thing about intuition. Like fingerprints there's not 2 people with 8 billion people on the planet that have the same fingerprint, 0. The same 2 people there's not 2 people that have the same intuition, because intuition is intelligence, it's genius, perfection for just you, and the destiny, the reason why you're here. The reason why you're here is very specific, and the intuition keeps you on track to fulfill why you said you'd come at this time. Okay? Yes?
I just want to say on intuition, because this is one of my favorite subjects.
Yes, please.
I just love that intuition.
Do you want to come up and share? Come on up.
I can come up.
Yeah, come up so people don't have to turn around. Yeah.
You guys don't have to turn around.
This is the event planner, Candace Braden, event planner extraordinaire. Before she speaks, I can promise you she's such a detailed, amazing human being on so many levels. When we were doing the sound, she set this room up this way so you'd be comfortable. She made sure everything is like perfect and, staggered, and there's rows. And then, while we were doing the sound change, she sat in every single seat in this room to see would be comfortable for you. Can you hear? How's the sound? Can you see? That's Candace.
Thank you, Daryl. Thanks for being here, too. I'm so glad you're here in our town.
Thank you.
But yeah, intuition is one of my favorite subjects that Daryl teaches. And one of the things that what you were just talking about that I love about intuition is that it's individual to your own genius, and each person has their own. And it's instant.
Right.
It just comes.
Right.
Here it is. And
Right.
and it's a feeling-based knowing instead of out-logicking your own intuition is probably the worst thing that we do. And we just sit and turn it over. Well, if we were on Mars and it was 100 years from now, then this would be the answer.
Oh, right.
Instead of just going, no, this is just the answer. It's
Right.
just that simple.
Right.
So
Exactly.
anyway, I love this subject, and I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Candace, for,
Oh, and I wanted to say,
yes.
it reminds me, I was thinking of the title of the book, which is Intuition, or Quantum Living,
Right.
Moving at the Speed of Light.
Yes.
And intuition is that instant. That's the quantum instant movement. There's
Yes.
no resistance.
Right.
It just is.
Yes.
So
Candace was the first person, let me say it another way, only person, What's the subtitle mean? Moving at the speed of life? No one's asked that question. And the answer to the question is what she just said. It's living an intuitive life, like you're saying, you're describing. That's exactly what you're describing, because it's a flow. By the way, the rational mind has a speed limit. You could look this up too. It's called flicker frequency. Flicker frequency is the mind's ability to process pictures and make decisions. It's 24 to 60 frames a second. We have way surpassed that speed at this point. And so we need a new evaluation source. Well, the cool thing about intuition, number one, it has no speed limit. Number two is it's perfect for you. Number three, moving with it's like making that U-turn out of nowhere. Changed my whole life, meeting that one woman, still in my life today, in a huge way, do you know? And so moving at the speed of life is moving on with the intuitive impulse and trusting, because it will start proving itself that it was genius and perfect in all kinds of ways, do you know? But you start trusting, wow, this information is coming from my soul. Wow. And my soul is coming from God. Wow. And I'm given information that's affecting my destiny and my moment. Wow. I'm listening to that. I had a boyfriend one time, on this point, I had a boyfriend years ago where he was from New York and he just knew everything about everything that ever happened, ever. And he was really brazen about it, you know. So, and I was more like sort of spiritual and getting intuitive hits and saying, no, I'm blah, 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 I'm getting it. He went, what are you talking about, this nonsense? There's no indication of blah, 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 and all of that. And so anyway, but he was so like insistent. I was just like a harmony person, so sure, we'll go your way, you know, that's good. However, I started seeing patterns. I'm now 29 or 30. I'm seeing patterns that, yeah, but I got the hit about that and I just didn't listen. I got the hit about that, I should have listened. Because that's where you learn about intuition. You wish you would have listened to yourself. So that's a training too, right? So anyway, I made a decision and I called him and said, I've made a life policy management decision and I want to share it with you now. And what it is I will no longer listen to anyone that tries to convince me to not listen to myself. And I thought I would start with you.
Today. Now.
Today, yeah, sure. So yeah, I love intuition too, so thank you. That's wonderful. Bless you, my dear. Okay, so here's another one. I want to get this right because this is very good, but this is also Einstein. Indeed, it is not intellect, but intuition which advances humanity. Big deal. One can never know why, but one must accept that intuition is a fact. Then, intuition tells man his real purpose in his life. There will, let me see, what does that say? Oh, there will come a point in everyone's life where only intuition can make the leap ahead without ever knowing how. Precisely how, thank you. Precisely how. That's a really big deal. This is the new genius. If we anchor this one thing, not only our lives will change immediately, but so will our world. And you know why? Do you know what you need to get intuition? Do you know what intuition is? It's a high state frequency. So to get the intuition to flow, like you're describing, is be in a high state frequency and it just shows up. It's just there. And suddenly how did I know that? I didn't know I knew that. Where did that come from? Who said that? Will start happening, will be your new normal. Where did that come from? Will start happening a lot, okay? The basis of true thinking is intuition. The basis of true thinking is intuition. Okay? Intuition, the new genius. This is the story of Edgar Mitchell. This is Edgar Mitchell when he was a pilot. I met him when he was older, like that. He looked like that. And in fact, oh, he's so cute. He's a scientist. And I was at Noetic Science, and there was a big event, like it's an international thing, 200 countries. Noetic Science is in 200 countries and all that. studying the magnificence of the human being. It's all culminating right now, and you were not born in an accident in this time period. Everyone born in this time period is here specific to anchor what we're talking about right now, this subject. And so anyway, I went up to him. There was a 1,500 person lunch, and I went up to him and I went, "Excuse me, Dr. Mitchell, could I hug you?" And he went, "Is it something that matters to you?" And I went, "Well, actually it does, because I think it's unlikely that I'll ever get to hug anyone that was on the moon, and I thought I could do that with you now." And he went, "Well, all right then." He totally did. He was such a scientist. And here's another thing he did that was so unbelievable. Talk about, this is like a manifestation thing. I was there, I was just floored, is that he tells the story of coming back to have and that it's the basis of the website. You can read his story on Noetic Science, Institute for Noetic Sciences. And anyway, but what happened is that he was returning with his other astronauts, and the craft was spinning, and in the spinning, he saw the moon, the earth, the moon, the earth, and then he started to realize that, like, the cockpit and the people, that we're all one. He actually got the clear vibe that we're all one. And that it was so overwhelming, it turned into a bliss state. Like, how extraordinary. We're more than just us, we're one enormous magnificence of living consciousness together. Is so cool, right? So anyway, he was now going to give the luncheon speech. And this was so touching. He was probably 83 at the time. But someone's walking with him out on stage. And the stage is just an open stage and a microphone. And she walked him to the microphone, and he looked out at the 1,500 people and then was tripping, because what he said was, it hit him to think that all of this was created just because I looked out a window. And he started to weep and had to be taken off the stage because he couldn't stand anymore. He was completely overwhelmed with how awesome we are, and how awesome that all he did was look out a window, he said, and it became what it is today. And then this is what he said to me personally, like real briefly. He said, when returning Earth, I felt this state of bliss, a benevolent intelligence with vast knowing. So when I looked up synonyms to benevolence, the word benevolent, guess what word showed up? Which is like my whole life, value. So I'm just like going, I was so knocked out of being on the right track without really knowing it. Just that's following intuition. You find out you're on the right track. You're on the right track, wow. And to think that being a value business plan design to restore humanity in the mix of how we create our interactions in business has been the reason for my life. And now it's culminated into this most significant subject. Okay, so everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. Then what's the frequency of intuition, right? It's a state of consciousness. The frequency match is a state of consciousness. Kindness, compassion, generosity, truthfulness, harmony, laughter, joy. I have a great story to tell about kindness, because people have probably the question that's asked a lot is, what do you do to keep the high state going? What do you do? And so what I've mentioned often, because I experience it so much, is that the smallest of kindness, the smallest, done sincerely, has the power you could not imagine. And so I was at my friend Debbie's title company, this was 2 weeks ago, and I drive an SUV, and I noticed that when I parked there, that the tires were like they're supposed to be 45, and they were 39, and one was 25 or something like that. I thought, I have to take care of that before I drive back to where I live. And so I didn't feel like going to a place where they sell tires. Do you know what I mean? I just wanted air. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't want to go through whatever that was. So I see pretty much across the street from her company, her office, I see a Brakes Plus place. And I thought my hit was to go in there, so I go in there. And I get out of the car. I park by the bays where they work on cars. And I walked in, and this man, he was a really older man, and he reminded me in those old Western movies of what a miner looked like. Pulling a donkey, because he's searching for gold. He looked exactly like, I'm sure if they were doing a movie, he could be the superstar miner guy. He looked exactly like that. And so I walked up to him and said, is there any way, do you have the ability to put air in tires? He said, I need to go ask, which broke my heart. I went, oh, ow, you know, just breathe. And so he went and he said, they said it's okay. I'm not guessing, he was in his 70s, easy. And so he then starts putting the air in the tires, and I'm not going to sit in my car while he's doing that either. He's doing me a kindness. So I get out of the car and I'm standing with him while he's putting the air in the tires. And then it occurs to me, I don't ever carry cash. But I went to lunch 3 days ago with someone that paid cash. I put it on my car. I have cash. Oh my God. So I go in the car, get the cash, $20. And I had to fold it up. And then he was done. And I said, so what's your name? He said, it's Dan. And I said, have you lived here long? Do you have a family? Do you have sons, daughters? I said, what are their names? He's telling me about his life. And as he's doing that, I'm actually realizing the essence of what he just did with his gift. He made me feel safe. I would not have felt safe driving back to where I live with tires that were exhibiting that. And I said to him, I cannot begin to tell you my appreciation that what you've done for me today is you made me feel safe. And he said, you have no idea what it meant to me to meet you today. And we both were crying. 4 days go by, I can still feel the joy from that experience. I mean, it was so powerful. It was like I was walking around in some kind of bubble of love or something. It was a big deal. The smallest of kindness, you'd be amazed what happens, and you can find out the power of it by doing it. You know, small kindness. And two, your intuition, you know, when you intend to be a value, intention creates outcomes. And you intend to be a value, your intuition kicks in automatically, immediately. And then you're in a situation and you say stuff that happens to be perfect, you know, for the situation. So,
Or not, doesn't matter.
or not.
It doesn't matter at that frequency, really, it doesn't.
It's just all good. Do you know what I mean? It really is all good, right? So, I'm so happy you're Kathy. You're just the best. That's so funny. Okay, when intuition is so why is intuition called the new genius? Okay, when intuition is offered and acted upon, the genius of intuition will reveal flawless intel for the immediate situation. So these are people that got out of the building that wasn't on fire. That's the immediate that also impacted their future for obvious reasons, right? Then intuition offered will also become evidence of genius in the future. Acting on the genius offered will be an alignment with your future. So that was the Meeting Debbie story. I mean, that was just I don't know, I'm supposed to, or something. But then turned into someone that's impacted my life profoundly in all kinds of ways. And there's lots of those. So genius is in the future, genius is in the moment. The issue is to be able to listen to it or just have the courage to listen to it on the spot, even though you have no support. Like people say, oh, well, you know, you don't need to do that. Why is it so difficult to trust our intuition? Rational minds want evidence up front. This is the biggest reason why we don't listen to intuition. Because our rational mind says, but wait, there's nothing. If I'm at a dinner with 6 people and I get a hit to go home right now, I'm going to get up and go home right now. But then the people go, what's the matter with you? Just call ahead. What's going on? What's the problem? I'm not saying you have to go. I have to go. You know? I'm going to listen to myself. So now I just announce it. I know it sounds crazy and blah, blah, blah. Are you out of your mind? Yeah, pretty much. Because that's the point of where I get my intuition, isn't in my mind, right? Okay, so intuition provides evidence after we've listened. If you just get that, there's no evidence on the front end, and evidence comes after. Others, so the reason it's difficult is because others are not validating our intuition. They're not saying, yeah, well, I trust you. You know what you're doing. That's rare, okay? Having a knowing not validated by friends, not trusting, okay, this is the big deal of all, is not trusting that our intuitive genius is coming from our soul. We don't, yes.
Sometimes, I'm gonna share a real quick story, about sometimes how the universe can hit you over the head to make you listen to your intuition.
Oh,
Because that just recently happened, so, just real quickly, so I moved down to the Springs, January of 2023. And, I volunteered I think everyone should volunteer for something they're passionate about. And for 16 years, I volunteered. Since I wasn't able to serve in the armed forces, I believe in serving those who serve. So for 16 years, I was a part of this organization called Employer Supported Guard and Reserve. I recently departed from that because I figured I'd done it and needed to pass it on to somebody else. So I put an intention out that I needed to find something to volunteer with. So about a year and a half ago, somebody from an organization called Veteran Association of Real Estate Professionals in Denver said, hey, we really need a chapter down the Springs. And I said to this person, you know what, I'll help this person, I'll help somebody do it, but I'm not gonna do it. No, excuse. So fast forward to November of last year, I'm with a new company and my boss said, hey, we're sponsoring this event. It's a 2-hour CE credit for real estate agents to understand the value of the VA loan. Would you do it? I'm sick. I said, sure. I went down there, and it was the vice president of the Denver chapter. And he said, and his name was Sean. And Sean comes, she's like, you down the Springs now? I said, oh, great. I really need somebody to launch this chapter. And I said to Sean, you know, I'm gonna help somebody do this, but I'm not gonna do it. I don't have the time, excuse.
right.
He turned around and he said, you know what, I'm so sick and tired of people saying they're gonna help. You know, do it, get away from me. And just walked away. And during that whole interaction, watching the people react to the presentation, I knew that this was what I knew this was the right thing to do, but I had to be hit over the head, proverbially, with a 2x4 going, look, this opportunity is here. And just recently I was at a meeting, well, 50 people in the room, and you know, and everyone now knows what I'm doing. And somebody said, hey, this guy is trying to start a chapter of VA rep. And they said, and 50 people said, no, you need to talk to Brian. And it was just amazing how the universe wouldn't let me not listen to the intuition after I put an intention out there. And the evidence was just what I shared. So it's just sometimes you have to not only trust it, but really pay attention when the universe is telling you a story.
So the cool thing about what you're describing is I've also often used the analogy of the GPS system is your intuition guiding your life. So kind of similar thing, if you put an address in the GPS and it says turn right here, and it also moves you in a path of least resistance. That's totally universe stuff right there. So it's moving in the path of, we're going to create a new route. So it's guiding the whole way. Then we go, oh, Starbucks. And we go to Starbucks, right? And then it kicks up a big fuss because you're now off track of where you said you want to go. So now it's going to make a big mess until you get back on track. Intuition is the same thing. We're all born in this time period for the most significant reason of all humanity. It's not only the survival of civilization, it's the evolution, the leap from 3D to 5D, fifth dimension. In the fifth dimensional realm, there is no judgment of any form. None, zero. I was thrown out of it. That's how I know for sure. And they didn't even throw me out and judge me. And it's not a they. It's like the function of it. So what happens is when you get off track, it's going to keep giving you. So it's not like the universe was doing you a gift or a favor, it's a reaction to what you said you came here to do, that you haven't been doing for a long time, you know? And the part that's so cool, there's all kinds of things coming out of the prestigious universities, like MIT Business School and Harvard and all these places, that they're teaching what's called conscious business. Conscious business, what's conscious business? Being aware of your impact on another human being and do that in a business setting. You see, that's how important this is. So it's spreading like wildfire now. And then there's a lot of people, speakers and stuff talking about, that are from those universities, talking about we're in a time period now where we're seeking for our work to be a calling. That's really important, because a calling, when you have a calling to do your work, you don't need an alarm for the rest of your life. You can't wait to get up and do your calling because it feels so good and so much comes. And it's just, fulfillment is the objective. That's what they're teaching in Harvard. You want to do a business? Create something with some people you like to build with. And then the objective is fulfillment. And then money will come. That's what the young ones are being taught now, probably at least 10 years, you know? Okay? So, this is Greg Braden. This is 45 seconds. This is the frequencies of the heart, where he's describing very quickly the interaction between the frequencies from the heart communicating with the quantum field.
It's not a thinking process. Thoughts are important. The ancients made a distinction between thoughts and feelings and emotions. And it's the feelings that are centered in our heart, that there's an effect from that it changes the electrical and the magnetic fields in our heart, and that those fields literally change the stuff that our world is made of around our bodies. And what the science now is showing is that when you can change the field that the atom is in, you change the atom. And we're made of those atoms. So when we have feelings in our hearts, we're changing the field that connects the stuff everything is made of, and we literally are altering our physical reality in ways that sound miraculous.
Isn't that cool? Nikola Tesla, frequencies is the key to the universe. So I just thought that was a pretty screen, and to repeat that. Quantum living. The definition is the ratio between the amount of energy spent to the magnitude of the result. And you'll start seeing this as a new normal. Teeny tiny effort, done genuinely, gigantic result. Where did that come from? How did that come from? Like that, okay? Key number 4, high consciousness states. Key number 4, like find the way. We all have, challenges. We get on the highway and somebody you want to use bad language towards, right? And so at this point now, I'm so conscious of high states and maintaining them, frequencies, that somebody does something on the highway and I go, oh my gosh, what probably happened is his daughter got hurt at school and he's rushing to the hospital to see, I hope he gets there safe and she's okay. I'm not judging anymore, because what if that's true? I'll make it up. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to short circuit judging, because I'm, Irish. You know what I mean? That comes with language. We'll just leave it at that for this lovely seminar, right? That's a whole different subject, right? It'd be funner with margaritas too, right? Okay, so anyway, so high states consciousness, so it's an elevated life condition. Elevated life condition is like happy, joy, etc., right? And then grateful. Grateful is one of the Dr. Emoto's studies on the water molecules show the attitude of gratitude, that the water molecule goes from a very flat shape to a crystal, like a beautiful, magnificent, intricate snowflake, gigantic, just from an attitude of gratitude. Looking at that with our consciousness. Years ago, in the mid-'80s, I worked first time in a title company myself as a banker, and which I really enjoyed the dynamics because of all of the activity that was going on there. And the title company there, it was called Continental Land Title, was a division of Lawyers Title. And I thought this was pretty evolved. Back then, they brought, how many people know about muscle testing? A lot of people. So that's where your body knows before you know. So the chiropractors do this, like other kind of physical health workers, but you're going to bring your vitamins in. And then they'll put them, you're laying down, they'll put them on your stomach, and if you can't move your arm, like, that's a good vitamin, your body likes that. If it goes like that, drops, it means your body doesn't like that, whatever that is. So what he did, they had a speaker come into the sales department, which was pretty big there, like 50, 60 people. In LA, it was really big. And they asked for a volunteer to come up. So some girl got up, lovely girl, got up, and he asked her to go stand out in the hall. And he said, here's what we're going to do, because to show you what your thinking does. He said, before she comes back, I want everybody to start visualizing like she's this yucky, terrible, her dress looks stupid, she doesn't look nice, she's a mess, negative stuff. And then I'm going to have her come back. So, and then when she comes in, look at her like that, and the whole place did. And with the muscle testing, she dropped like that. She didn't even know what was going on. So she went, oh, okay, well, that was fun, you know. Anyway, so he said, go back out again. Then the next thing he said to the room is to look at her through eyes of, look how beautiful she is. She's so lovely. That dress is beautiful on her, perfect color. What a lovely vibe she has. She came in the room, you can't miss her. All that kind of stuff. Couldn't budge her arm. That's the impact we have on others. We need to take a look at this as deeply as you could possibly imagine is the key, the power of our consciousness. And then what to do with it, okay? Isn't that cool?
And I think at a certain point, you have to get rid of some other people that take you out of that state that really affect that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Do you mind if I hitchhike on what you're saying for a reason? That's a really good learning thing. May I join you? Okay, here's the cool thing about what you just said. I love that you said that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because when you're in a high state, nobody annoys you because you're not in judgment. There is no judgment. Not to mention, they actually can't be in your vibe either, by the way. I was doing, this is in Littleton, a 16-person, what do you call it, business plan design class, 5 weeks. And one of the subjects I brought up was competition. That one of the guys in the audience took issue with that. Because I was saying, competition means to compare. Real estate people compare with each other all the time. I'm with a little real estate company and this is the big balloon company. I have no chance. That's a comparing. Somebody's young, that's good. Somebody's old, that's bad. Somebody's young, rich is good and bad, rich is poor. It's all nonsense. We need to stop comparing. And we don't need to win by defeating somebody. Just do your best and there it is. He took issue with it. But I'm in a very high state. I was doing that class. No judgment. He stands up. Not only does he complain about me, he stands up and holds his arms out, enveloping the whole room. We all think you're full of BS. We all. And he went on and on and on, like a public shaming thing. What was so interesting about that is I was listening to him and I had no reaction other than, this is interesting because this has never happened this way. I wonder if the class collectively is interested in sorting out what do you do when someone is publicly shaming you. That's interesting. That's what's going through my mind. And then when he was done, sound stopped, and I said, is there anything else you'd like to share? And he went, no, yeah, so what do you say for yourself? Like that, in that tone. I'm about frequency. I didn't say this. Here's what I said. I will not engage with you or anyone where the outcome makes someone wrong. What? But see you, and he went through it again. Actually, I have a near photographic memory, so, but I'm happy to repeat if it's of value to you. I will not engage with you or anyone where the outcome makes someone wrong. And it was so amazing what ended up happening because I did not judge him. A couple of weeks go by, I'm meeting with the owners of that real estate company, and so I happened to sort of run into him, if you will, and he was like kind of startled because of that interaction. And he said to me, can I talk to you for a minute? Sure, what's going on? And he said, well, and I said, by the way, you look like 15 years younger. Did you fall in love or something? Well, you look really young and good. What's up? And then he said, well, I was sitting on the sofa with my wife on Saturday watching a movie called War Games. Anyone know that movie, War Games? It's like military plays a war game on a computer to find out what are our chances of winning and what does it look like and what's the outcome and all of that. So it was a story about a a high school student that just by accident hacked NORAD and launches thermonuclear war. So anyway, so the movie goes on and on and on, and the computer learns by saying the only way to win this game is not play. So that's the story. So he said to me, we were watching War Games. He said, have you seen the movie? I went, yes, 1986, Matthew Broderick. And he went, do you remember how it ends? And I went, tell me about it. And then he says what the story ends. And he said, in that moment, I realized I was publicly shaming you, and you chose to not play. I want to apologize. That's not okay. I went, well, that's why you look 15 years younger. And thank you. Because when you have to hang on and you're right about you age yourself. So I said, good for you. That's wonderful. Thank you. What was interesting to me about that is as he was acting badly and it didn't affect me, it affected him. Because I didn't judge him back and I didn't fight back. And wasn't strategizing, that's just what happened. So I learned how there's so many benefits to not judging people.
Well, it was like the cancer vibrational machine.
Right.
Same exact concept in practice.
Exactly.
Neutralized that energy.
Right. It dissolved it, actually. And his hate got dissolved inside of him.
It became obsolete.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, so what if higher states are just not available? It's that kind of day, right? Okay, here's a clue. The mind cannot distinguish between what it actually sees and what it imagines. It thinks it's the same, therefore it's true. Okay, so you're having kind of a rough day and here's the motivation to get into higher states. There's still the issue of July 15 going on, right? And that needs to be solved in some manner, one way or another. Solutions to all challenges live in our intuitive intelligence. Intuitive intelligence is a frequency. Intuitive intelligence is a high state frequency. So we need to be in Einstein, again, if everything's energy and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want. You want intuitive intelligence, you need to be in a high state. It shows up by itself. It just shows up. I can't even describe it. It's just like amazing experience. Like, where did that come from? How did I know that? Strong desire for solutions on any discomforting, troubling issue live in high state. So the solutions live in high state frequencies where you can see. Judgment you can't see, because the issue of judgment is to always be right. That's all it knows, be right and superior. It knows these two things, which we're going to talk about right now. How to elevate higher states consciousness instantly, because the mind can't distinguish between what it sees and what it imagines. Learned this, by the way, from Greg Braden. Is refresh a memory of a happy time. Like, what was the cool thing that happened, blah, blah, blah. When I got married, when I had a baby, when I went on that vacation where some victory happened. That you can pull up so fast. And then the very next thing you do is, how do you feel imagining that memory? Like, how was that? Take 3 minutes of breathing in and out to quiet the mind. I'll tell you also very quickly, I was in Sedona, Arizona, and with Greg Braden doing an event there, and he guided people through this process. So for example, the question was, what if you don't have money, and there's a struggle with money, and if you don't have money, it's Tuesday, by Friday, really bad stuff's gonna start happening, like how do you go, oh, I'm so grateful, the universe, and you don't really believe it. What do? And he said, the mind can also not distinguish what you're grateful about. So then he said, I'll show everybody. So he answered the question, I'm going to show everybody a 3-minute meditation. So I happen to be thinking about Sedona because it's a very beautiful place, kind of magical in all kinds of ways and all that. And so I'm like, wow, I not only know about Sedona, I live an hour and 20 minutes from there. I'm here a lot, like lucky me. And then how did it feel? And then I remembered a sunrise hike and sitting on a boulder and taking notes, waking up with the forest and the trees are crackling and then bugs come out and birds come for breakfast. And I got to be part of nature, like one with, and it was a bliss type experience. And I started to cry because it was so lovely a memory I could pull up immediately. Anyway, and then the third minute, he said, drop in your life stream come true. So whatever's the goal, drop it in while you're in a high state frequency. What I have thought since I'm 27 years old, take this teaching global. I've always thought that. Take this teaching global. So he finishes, it was a Sunday, finishes seminar, I go home, and then I get a call from a guy who had gone to an event I did for Keller Williams in Brentwood, California, a year ago. And he calls me, he goes, I don't know if you remember me, you came to events in my company, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I can't explain it, but last night I went to a fundraiser in Beverly Hills and I met this guy and I couldn't stop talking about you and I don't even understand it. I haven't seen you in a year and this and that, but how much you changed my life and this teaching is so important and blah, blah, blah. He now has to meet you, he's gonna die or something. Would you be open to a conference call today at 2:30? I would be happy to. Do you mind if I ask you what he does? God is my witness, he said, he takes companies global. Stop it. You know what I mean? Isn't that amazing? Is that astounding? Or just to me? Because I was just like, holy moly. That was a moment of just launching that intent. And then, by the way, he came to Arizona and to see some events and stuff, and he said, you remind me of a red Ferrari with a flat tire. Was his assessment. I needed more systems in place and some things like that, right? And it was very cool. Okay, so be of high value to someone. It's another way to go into a high state immediately. Intend to be of value, and then just, I can't say that enough, how powerful. Because you not only activate that in yourself, you activate it in the person who's wired the same way. So now you have two people that are interacting in a high state without realizing it, and it's like the best meeting they've ever had kind of thing, okay? Proactivity, so proactively choose to uplift another human being. Another quick one, I'm in an elevator in Denver in the Key Bank building on Tamarack and Hampton. 6-story building. I'm gonna meet a woman, a broker there on the 6th floor. There's a really old man, really, 106 if he's a minute, with a cane, and he's walking kind of really hunched over, like really, you could feel he's just like done, bitter or something. And so every moment I'm breathing, my intention is to be of highest value to anyone who crosses my path, and I have no idea what that looks like, what's going to happen. So I hold the door for this really old guy, and he gets on the elevator, and I said, excuse me, sir, by any chance are you going to the 6th floor? Yes. I went, oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I hate traveling alone. He burst out laughing. There was an explosion from his heart to mine of such joy that when I walked in the broker's office, they were like, did you just fall in love? You're all like glowing and everything. What happened? That's that energy exchange between people that we're missing out on the more we disconnect or go AI is nonsense. I get there's benefits to AI, but you don't want that to be your new normal, because your greatest opportunity in being alive is connecting heart to heart with another human being. There's so much magnificence in that connection. Journal gratitudes. This is not like a shopping list. Like write gratitude down and like what happened, and realize how fortunate you are and mean that. And it's a big deal, okay? And thank others. You want to stay in a high state as long as possible? Thank everyone that crosses your path about something that you mean it. And I don't say like, hey, thanks to the Starbucks person at the window. I'll always say the same thing. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to come here first thing in the morning and you're bright smile and you're so happy. Makes us feel good. We're going out in the world. It's going to be kind of a rough day, could be. But that smile and that kindness that you're offering to all of us is a really big deal, and I want to thank you for doing that. It means a lot whether anyone tells you that or not. That's a thank you. It's like elaborated, not just, hey, thanks. Okay, frequencies of judgment, very big deal. We're going to hustle through this. Retire the ego. Ego had a purpose in early mankind's development. So what the purpose was in early man development a way long time ago is, let's just say a prehistoric type person is walking through the forest. So the ego was put there by God too. It's so God designed in the brain, and it had a function that was, that the reason we're here is because it was successful in what its function was back then. So if he's walking through the forest and somebody walks towards him that looks like him, that means you're similar, that means that's good. Similar is good. That means my survival just went up because similar. Bad is on 4 legs, pointy teeth, drooling, growling, running toward you. That's bad, because we're so different. So similar is good, different is bad. And then Einstein has subsequently offered, the mind was there, he said the mind was there to serve the human being. But what has happened is we've created a society where the human being is now the servant of the mind. That couldn't be truer than today, because the egos are running amok all over the place. I'm in charge, you have no say. And we've kind of allowed that, so we need to correct that. Okay? So ego has settings, good, bad, and then superior and right. That's it. 2 things it does. So ego's job is to preserve its own relevance. Let me give you an example. In a company, you have someone running a department in a company who operates from their ego. I can promise you that person is not of value to your company. Everything will be shaped to aggrandize itself, which is usually at the expense of somebody and customers and all of that. Okay, so you want to pay attention to that. Ego's mission was designed for one purpose. What do you think that one purpose is? To win. It has to be right at all times, right? But that provided a function. So now we're in high states frequency. We're not judgment. We're not judging ego. We're saying thank you for your service, because we're here today because you fulfilled your service. But you're not in charge anymore, because now we're evolving into a heart-based consciousness that's coming from a different source. Now, ego, you're welcome to raise your frequency and join us, or enjoy your retirement because you're not in charge anymore. And here's how you can tell ego's in charge. Outcomes of ego. Ego remains right by making others wrong. When anybody's making you wrong, like the guy in that class, that's how I could tell his ego was speaking. And egos will only do that when it feels threatened for some reason. Then, ego remains superior by making others feel inferior, which is how you know an ego speaking. That's 2 things. Someone's making you little, that's the ego speaking. That's not the wholeness of the person, it's the ego speaking. So how much credence do you give that when an ego speaking? Because it's only preserving itself, it's not an interaction. Okay? Ego is a lower frequency, vibrating lower sense of self-worth. So that's what's happening. So that's where you can have some compassion and not take it personal. Like, okay, well, if they're acting this way, there's some suffering involved. I wonder what's going on with them that's causing them this level of pain. There's a compassion because it's not affecting you. That's the high state. There's no judgment in the high state. Okay? Evolution of consciousness. When assessing external conditions from an intuitive premise, these are judgment-free frequencies. July 15, it would be real good to approach that subject from a judgment-free frequency. I wonder what good is it in it for us, if that goes through or if it stays the way it is. It's not decided. It's sunset jello, right? An analogy. So this is what ego can't see and what you can see when you rise above ego. Airplane, storm, clouds, raining. Kind of rocky, stuff's going on, can't tell what's going on, are we going to be okay? And the plane rises above the clouds and you can see for thousands of miles. That's the difference between making evaluation from ego, raining, stormy, can't see, to being able to see. And on top of it, since there's no judgment, you can see stuff that you can't see when the ego is in charge. There's creativity, there's opportunity, there's just things that start happening because you can see. And then the decision is in harmony with you and your destiny and your path and the moments, the immediate situation. It's only good. It comes from that, okay? The same is true with higher states and lower consciousness. You can see in higher states, not so good when you're in lower states. Because in lower states, you're in survival, can't see. You know what I mean? The ego's saying, oh no, you're not going to win this one. You're going down for the count. And you need to be really scared, be afraid, be very afraid. So all that fear comes from that. Okay? Collective high state frequencies. Okay, this is the final key, the resonance effect. This is also in Quantum Living book in chapter 9, because here's the resonance effect. It's a synchronized vibrations from a group of people in harmony with each other in a high state. In high states causes the resonance effect. The resonance is you know, we talk to each other this way. Oh, someone says something cool and you go, oh, I resonate with that. That means you have you know, it's a similar something. Very quickly on that, this is now the 2008 nightmare that was coming to Arizona ahead of the country. And there was a title company that was about to go down for the count, that I understand. And so salespeople came and said, would you help us? Because we have 23 offices. It's Thanksgiving soon, Christmas. I mean, people are freaking out. Will you come and help? Came and did a consulting project with them. One day, I'm just talking, the collective is unbelievable. The first thing we opened with was to reestablish the humanity between the client, which is the realtor, and the mortgage person and the title rep. Because they were not connecting. They were deals that will see to it they survive. No, I mean, would I go out on a date with someone if they say, I'll give you $100 if you go out with me tonight? I'm not taking the $100. So, you know, the relationship is the quality relationship between people. That's what's sustaining and all of that. So anyway, long story short in this, I don't have time for the whole thing, but what we did is we shifted the whole thing. First of all, we're going to go in the field, and by the way, reestablishing their humanity about the realtor is like, what's going on with them? They started with, I don't know, it's kind of market change. And I kept saying, what does that mean? Well, market change, that means less deals. What does that mean? Well, less deals and means less money. And what does that mean? Well, less money. And then people started to identify, because they were in the same fear base, right? The real estate people were. And they were going, whoa, like maybe some of the realtors will have to be out of real estate. And what does that mean? And then one guy went, oh my God, they might even lose their own home. And all I had to say was, are any of your clients single mothers? And people started to weep. Humanity is now restored. I went, okay, now that that's restored, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in the field and we're not going to talk to anybody about give me deals. No, for 90 days, not one deal. You're not going to ask for anything. We're only here to stand by your side until you win. That's what we're going to do. We have all kinds of ways to do that. I did events helping people become productive regardless of the market conditions, miracle after miracle. There was an article in the, I guess, a editorial or something in the newspaper that this title company is the only voice of hope in Maricopa County. The stuff was astounding. So after that first day, it's New Year's Eve, Friday, end of year, end of everything. After that day, no one left the room. This is how important that is for companies in the future, to come together in unity, to be of high value to their client because they love and appreciate them. So what happened is like the thing was over at 3:30. No one left the room. They brought lunch in, all of it. No one called anybody. No one talked to anyone. We were doing that. And so it was so emotional. But what happened, I get home New Year's Eve, 4:30, and I open my email, and it's an email from the president of that title company that said, opens with, "It's like a miracle. Today, we had our #1 open order count ever in our 10-year history today, and no one talked to anyone." And when that happened, I had to find out, how did that happen? And as soon as I was thinking about that, because I'm writing it for the book too, right? So I'm now got to really get to the bottom of how did that happen so we can duplicate it, right? And then I wake up, on my phone suddenly is a YouTube 7 minutes from Greg Braden, which I'm going to listen to. And he talks about the resonance effect. He's talking about the very subject. And he explained that if you have two guitars, for example, in the same room, and you strike a chord from this one, it's the F sharp, on this one, the F sharp starts vibrating all by itself without being touched. The people that gave business to that title company that day were not touched, but we were sending out a signal that was loving and generous and compassionate and committed. And they felt it inside of them, and that day they decided to do their title business with that company that day. And then it just kept going to where the owners came out, "What are you doing out here? We were going to close you down, and now you're profitable. What happened?" You know, like that. So anyway, so resonance effect is a big deal. Synchronized vibration from a group causes the resonance effect. Okay, imagine a world. So this is where we're going. Imagine a world with a growing number of people choosing to retire ego and cease negativity. What if we created a world, we could do that sitting in this room and everyone we touch? Ego, get this, you want to know what ego is? Ego originates judgment, and judgment is the cause of all suffering. When that frequency is no longer in our life condition, guess what's left? Love and harmony and happiness and creativity and intelligence, and so much great stuff is available in our design that's being pinched off like a hose in water. Pinches off. It's still flowing, but we pinch it off. Judgment does that. So it squeezes off what's coming. You just have to unpinch it by absence of that, and it's very cool, okay? Quantum field originates cooperative energies. That's what the quantum field does, cooperative energies of high states, right? With value intentions. We have value that's purposeful, gratitude, contribution, kindness, harmony. Energies, okay, so energy interacts with itself in a likeness attracts manner. So these high states, compassion, joyful, etc., they all are going out into the field looking for a match. That's how energy, it's searching for one, okay? The two guitars in the same room, okay? How to begin, simply choose to retire negativity. That's how you begin to stop it. I choose to now be in higher states. I don't care what you do, what you say. To me, I'm not going there. I have to go down too many layers to go with you in the mud, making you wrong, which my ego says I could do easily. So how's that for arrogance? We all have it. I just manage it. I don't choose that you'd be in charge anymore. It doesn't feel good to me anymore. The absence of the energies of judgment allows high vibrational qualities to reveal their presence. They're always there, okay? Intuition, intuitive intelligence, creativity, genius, bliss is what's happening. Okay, very good. We're almost done. One more screen. This is the ultimate purpose of the book Quantum Living. The reason for writing that book is what this guy's dream prayer was. A Franciscan monk, not Franciscan, he was some other, I forget, a Jesuit monk. Someday, after we have mastered the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness the energies of love. And then for the second time in the history of the world, man will have discovered fire. We all know what happened when man discovered fire. The evolution began. Imagine the discovering love and mastering that. In fact, there's something in the Mayan calendar about that the Mayan calendar was tracking consciousness, not time. Guess what the final cycle is that we're in now? And why the Mayan calendar ended? Because the final cycle, called the galactic consciousness cycle, is becoming one with God. One with God. And guess what? Even though they predicted all this stuff that's flawless, and they're scholars on the subject of the Mayan calendar, that they're exactly what happened, they track it. However, whoever created that 5,600 years ago realized there's no way to predict what's possible when mankind is one with God, and that's why it ended. It's not possible to predict what could happen, because it's never happened. So again, guess why you're here in this time period? With a destiny to evolve humanity and escort people into the higher frequency states. You're a big deal. You will be remembered in all of time as the courageous, precious ones that came at the most difficult time and escorted people out of hate into love effortlessly. Okay? The spirit that moves the universe is the same spirit that moves our soul. Thank you guys so much for a wonderful morning.